but they were oppressing the local populations. And when they got to Germania, fortunately, there was a man named Arminius who was able to, for a period of time in history, unite the Germanic tribes. And these were fiercely independent tribal chiefs. They could never get along on any issue. They were always differing. But at least they did come together in the common cause of stopping the oppressions of the Roman Empire. And they united to actually defeat the Rome in 9 AD with a battle of the Teutoburger Wall, where they wiped out 3 Roman legions. And it changed the course of history, because then the Roman conquest stopped and did not take over northern Europe. And that's why we became Anglo-Saxonized rather than Romanized. And it was a remarkable event in history. And we're at that same period again where we need a new Arminius movement, where we need our people to unite and stand up for America and the traditions of America. And as you mentioned earlier, dealing with the demographics, Europeans, founded this country. They built this country. And until as recently as the mid-1960s, we were 90% European-derived. We're now down to about 2/3, and somebody born in 1965 as a part of that 90% majority is predicted to die as a minority in their own country, America. Now that's the assassination of a nation. It's taking the national identity and totally destroying it. And if you're a nationalist who believes in the sovereignty of America, then you've got to see that spells doom for our country unless we stand up and do something about it. So we need another Arminius time where we can unite our people, educate them to what's going on, and hopefully unite to stop this.
All right, that's what I want to talk to you about. Now, up on my website, I mentioned something about maybe it's time for another round of Chautauquas. Are you familiar with the Chautauquas?
I've heard about them, but no, I'm not.
It was like a traveling road show. They set up tents and all that, and they had meetings and political speeches there before the internet. And the internet is great. It's a great communication tool. But if we don't get together, if you don't go out and talk to your neighbors, if you allow yourself to sit in front of this computer and that becomes your whole world, you're just as lost as the TV. If you work together, if you talk to people, and we need some kind of common thing to unite people, I would think it's our American culture. But if you're talking, if you were talking like we've been talking here, 50 years ago, let's see, they would have had a new set of words for you. Isolationist.
Yeah, that's true. And those buzzwords tend to keep us in check. But more and more people are starting to defy that. I see here locally, at least in Tennessee, where you do have more groups coming together locally, having regular meetings. They are becoming educated on what the Constitution really means and what our Founding Fathers' interpretations would have been. And more people are looking to unite for those self-reliant protective measures.
Now you've really hit on some things. You talk about the local communities. The highest law enforcement we have in the land is your county sheriff. He's elected, and I certainly a believer in the militias, because militias are the people. You just need to be organized, and you need to do it behind a sheriff. So if you have become a volunteer deputy to back your sheriff up in time, if things fall apart, I think that's a good move.
Yes, and I heard an example recently of a sheriff who was running for re-election and was put on the spot and asked what he would do if the federal authorities came in and said that they needed to arrest certain people through certain actions, and he said that he would let them do that. And the man that was running against him asked what he would do, and he said he would deputize everybody to stop them from doing that. And to me, that's the spirit of America and what the sheriff should be all about. And posse comitatus came about simply as a result of those kind of things, to prevent an organized national military from coming in and trying to police local communities. It's not their constitutional right.
Now, a friend of mine, I used to sell his books, Richard Kelly Hoskins. He made the statement that the foundation of every civilization is the self-sufficient family farm. 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I came up with a plan to restore the family farm. And just people living together, low-cost shelters, grow your own food, generate your own electricity, and you can be pretty independent. You can do this in a neighborhood, in a block. I called the idea Liberty Villages. Every farmer that I've talked to, every rancher that I've talked to has told me that the biggest problem they have is getting help out there. They kind of like, how are you going to get them back on the farm after they've seen L.A.? And the L.A. program, the movies that we've got, that's why I also agree with you that we really need to take back over our media, our film, just so you can get the truth. Now, you don't have to agree with, if you're Jewish out there, you probably won't agree with me because you got a few perks, because your people are very efficient. People have asked me, why do you hate the Jews, Clay? I said, I don't hate them. I kind of admire them. If us white boys had that together, we'd have the Federal Reserve, we'd own the Bank of England, we'd own the International Monetary Fund. How do you feel? I mean, I don't care. The Constitution protects you. So if you want to bang your head against a Wailing Wall, knock yourself out. I'll watch. If you want to get down on your knees or stick your nose in the dirt in your ass up in the air, I'll try to keep the St. Bernard off of you. And if you want to get on your knees and pray for a Cadillac, I'll pray that God don't drop it on you. Constitution protects your choice of religion. But why can't we all work together? The elite's plan is to divide and conquer. So if you don't believe the way I believe, you must be an infidel. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head there, and I think the American Jewish community is very powerful. The Jewish people that I know, I have great respect for. They're very intelligent people, and they're very united in their effort, very politically active. If something comes up that's a threat to their interest, they unite quickly and attack it, and they're very committed to their causes, and I wish we could emulate them more. But at the same time, they're a troubled people. The ones that I know, I see that they've basically grown up in a system which teaches them that, first of all, that they're the chosen race, that they're superior to all others, and look down on others and have that sense of supremacy. They also have the victimhood that has been taught to them, that they are basically attacked throughout history, and they've developed a sense of paranoia. When you combine that paranoia with a sense of supremacy, that's a very volatile combination, and I think then as a people become very vulnerable to the manipulations of these global elites. And the financial community is able to work and really control the Jewish community, which basically engineers most of the doings of the global elites. And we need to fight that in some way, but it's tough because our people have become so fat and lazy. We're watching, some silly show on television or music that just dumbs us down and makes us not respect our traditions, our Christian heritage. Whatever it is, we're shunning, we're pushing away all those things that made us great, and we need to find that again somehow. And Liberty Villages sounds like an intriguing concept to me, and I think as times get tougher for people and they come to terms with the fact that they're not going to be able to remain fat and lazy and survive. They've got to get back to some traditions and learn how to be self-reliant again. So it's coming to a head. Whether it happens this year or for the next few years, it's coming, and I think that day is probably going to be the best day for America when it does, because then we'll be able to get back on our feet.
Well, we may not be able to save the world, but we can save ourselves. And if you just get, I ask myself, how did people deal? How did people live 200 years ago? How did they live 500 years ago? Before the electricity, before everything, there is a simpler way of life. But the way I viewed Liberty Villages is taking everything that you said into account. We've got Timothy Bible College, so you can sit in a $3,000 teepee in the middle of Arizona or Oklahoma on property where you grow your own food, generate your own electricity, and meet with your neighbors to work together. It's really about working together. We don't need the banks. We don't need this kind of control. And one of the ways we're going to get that is the other thing that you do. Now, I asked Charles Collins, when it became apparent we weren't going to get any airtime, nobody in America was going to even know he was running for president, I said, what are you going to do next? what I wanted him to do was come in with me and publish the Free American and keep growing. We had over 5,000 subscribers at that time, and he didn't do that. He went down, retired. But 40 years ago, I wrote a novel about the United States changing in exactly the way you're saying. 46 states legalized marijuana, abolished laws against victimless crimes, and they did that because somebody made a film about it and educated the American people. I think you've got the potential to do that, and I think that's I think I even wrote a movie that might be able to do that. But again, they attack you financially. Well, nobody wants to make a donation. You can make a donation to a political party, a Republican or Democrat, but you can't support any patriotic people. I can almost hear this again. Well, I'm just throwing away my vote. I think you're throwing away your vote if you vote Republican or Democrat. How do you feel about that, Merlin?
I believe you vote your conscience. If you vote your conscience, then you're doing what you as an individual think is right. When you start putting the strategies to it, well, we need Obama out of there, so it's better to vote for the lesser of the evils. You're not voting for real change. You're still voting for evil, and I truly see no change or no difference really between the Republicans and Democrats. They may play a Marxist agenda for a while when the Democrats are in power, and then they play a global empire-building agenda from the Republicans who are in there, but there's really no change when they change administration. So vote your conscience. Try to get people that have character, that still have ethics and integrity, put them in office, and hopefully they can help make a difference. And whether your vote succeeds or not, at least you're making a statement. And if enough people made a statement, it would make the difference.
I believe that. What's your schedule like? What are you going to be doing?
Well, I've been on the road a bit, attending like the Freedom Palooza and some other conferences. We're actually looking to put on our own convention, and it's going to be in the middle of October. We're just at the stage of setting that, and we're calling it a Gathering of Eagles. And we look to do kind of as Arminius did, where we can collect patriots, the leaders of various patriot groups together, put our heads together and say, hey, what can we do as viable patriots and stay within the bounds of our Constitution to take our country back, to do it peacefully and legally, but at the same time to do it uncompromisingly in the sense that we have to get our country back and we have to stand up. So that's going to be a major event for us before the election and after the Democratic and Republican conventions. But other than that, I'm looking to be on the road where we can get a gathering and address these issues and hopefully continue to spread the word. It's limited numbers when you do that. You speak before a crowd of maybe 100, 200 people, and you're not reaching that many, but hopefully the word does spread. Hopefully word of mouth, and hopefully through the internet and carrying whether it's audio speeches or video speeches. Hopefully that can all keep spreading and growing and become the alternative media could become the next mainstream media if we're successful.
It is what we have to do. It's what I've been doing for 20 years, and I will have your film and your links up on the Free American site. I'm not, and if somebody wants to donate to the Free American to help cover the cost of that, the cost of doing this show, the cost of, and this show is going to go out to YouTube, it's going to go on Blog TV, it's going to go out just about everywhere. And if you send this out and you put this information, and the American Third Position Party lets people know that there are people like me out there that I've got the history of the Rothschilds. I can tell you about the banksters. I can document the whole thing about the Bible and the Christian identity and everything else. I've been studying this. We've got Timothy Bible College that is a viable alternative to the public school system that also contains the Little Red Schoolhouse. And this new Liberty Villages that we're doing, this is going to be a part of the Free American. It's up on the Free American site. We've got low-cost structures, teepees that run for about $5,000, yurts that run about $10,000, trailers that run $20,000, and small houses that are quality built that are still half the price of a house in a neighborhood. And we've got 160 acres in Oklahoma, with another 160 acres adjoining that. We've got 40 acres that we're already putting these tiny Texas houses on in Texas. And we've got more land in Arkansas, more people that are interested in doing this. We're getting contacted every day. Now, if you would like to live a different lifestyle, grow your own food, all you got to do is send me, clay@freeamerican.com, send me a resume, send me an application, tell me what you can do, tell me where you want to live, tell me, and I'll put you together with the landowners. We'll vet you, and we'll put you in touch with the landowners that have a similar vision of their life. Maybe it's teepees, maybe it's sod homes, maybe it's straw bale houses. But we have the technology to put solar, we've got a solar generator, water filters on there, that'll keep you safe. That'll give you power. And if you're growing your own food, you're responsible for what you're eating. And you get your neighbors and your families and your friends to come there to help you. That's what America is supposed to be about, I think. How about you, Merlin?
I do. I think people that have foresight are going to seriously consider alternatives, and they need to, because we're about to be experiencing something I think is going to be very devastating, whether it's the war on terror being escalated into World War III, or whether an economic collapse. The euro, I don't believe, is too far away from collapse, and if that happens, the dollar will be right behind it. So our lifestyles are going to be radically affected in the short term. It could be this year, but certainly it's not too far away. So people that want to protect their future, want to protect their families, need to be looking for low-cost alternatives where they can be with people of like mind.
Okay, I've got somebody on here. Let Go Lady stay for a minute. Let Go Lady stay. How does Go Lady, which is a troll that doesn't have enough guts to actually use a real name or give me a phone number or pick up the telephone and call. And folks, you can talk to me. I have a phone number, 520-413-2397. It's up on my website. You can call. You can advertise. You can buy books. You can do all that. We've got all that. And if the American Third Position Party will help promote the Free American and the show. I've got more information. I published the Free American for over 10 years. It was in every bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million across the country until my accident. And folks, I've never been sued about for slander at all. All you got to do is call me, tell me what you can do. If you got land, all we need is about 5 acres. You set it aside. You invest a little bit, and that comes basically from the people for your structures and your look. And you got it. Now, oh yes, Oldberry wants to know what you think about his people. What do you think about, let's see, how did he put that, how does this candidate feel about my people? Will he support Israel? Of course, that's the question they're all going to ask. Go ahead.
I believe America needs to put America first. I'm not isolationist. I believe in treating all nations fairly, and we want to trade. I believe in Ron Paul's attitude in that we certainly don't want enemies around the world, but when we entangle alliances and we enter treaties and we start saying we'll protect this nation, we'll do this for that nation, that's not putting American interests first. That's putting foreign interests first. Let the Israelis take care of them. And we're in 140 countries right now. Why are we providing the national defense for 140 other nations and their economies at the expense of the American taxpayer and what might be best for our interests? Why should we risk getting involved in conflicts based on the manipulations of other nations?
George Washington warned us about it, and Thomas Jefferson warned us, if you ever allow a private bank to issue your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your children homeless in the land that we conquered.
Right.
So, it's, it's never been a time in history when it's been easy to be free. But there's always been small groups of people that outlived everyone else that worked together Okay, my troll in the room says, so would he let my people perish if a World War III breaks out? If World War III breaks out, people are going to perish all over World War III. And if a World War III breaks out, it's going to be because it was started by your people. But that's just my opinion. My guest is Merlin Miller. He's running for president with the American Third Position Party. And
yeah, if you want my comments on that,
yes.
False Flag, the Motion Picture Project deals with this issue, and it's about stopping the escalation of conflicts and preventing World War III. And the actions of, and I believe the lady's referring again to Israel, the actions of Israel that endanger the Israeli people and everybody else in the Middle East, as well as the nations that may be backing those interests, are all put at risk when these escalations happen, when the attacks go on, and we need to diffuse all that, and you diffuse it by not feeding it. We're feeding all kinds of money through grants and loans to the state of Israel and other nations as well around the world, and all we're doing is feeding the potential to grow those conflicts.
150 countries are getting foreign aid, and that includes Israel and China. And Russia, I believe, is even getting some foreign aid for us. What we're doing, what's going on, is the American people are funding the whole New World Order banking system, because those 150 countries are all countries that have the International Monetary Fund in control of.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And in response to your lady again, we want no ill will, no harm to come to anybody in the world. But we can't control the destiny of everybody in this world. We shouldn't try. All we can try to do is set the stage for peaceful interactions, and you do that by not feeding the war machine, by not feeding a dialogue that is hostile and then creates animosities between people. We need to take care of our own here in America and lead by example. I mean, that was always the vision of our founding fathers. If we lead by positive example, then other nations should try to emulate us and hopefully adopt their own constitutional republics and have a form of government which is not aggressive, but which is simply seeking a better way of life for their people.
I've been called anti-government for the last 20 years, and my response to that is I'm the most pro-government guy that you'll ever meet. I just want the constitutional republic guaranteed me by the Constitution.
Yeah, that's what we need to fight for, is our preservation of that Constitution and our Bill of Rights.
Well, I'll tell you, I am willing. You already got your information up there. That information will stay on my site. I've got nobody, even Ron Paul. Ron Paul's staff would not allow him to talk to me. He was a subscriber for over 10 years. Got the Free American every month. And when I put his picture on the cover of the Free American and went to see him, they wouldn't allow me to see him. His staff. So his staff is being controlled by the same people that are controlling the other guys. And I think you've got an alternative here. You've got a position. And will you be on? Do you think you guys will be able to make it on everybody's on all the states' ballots?
No, in fact, probably a dozen states are all that we have viable opportunity to get on the ballots this time. But we are trying to spread the word, and hopefully the party will grow so that within a few years we will have a presence in all 50 states.
I'd love to help you do that, provide that with you, and it's the Liberty Villages are going to be meeting halls. Every Liberty Village will have a large space in there that we can do that. One last question here. How do we prevent them from putting us in the FEMA concentration camps?
Well, it does go back to educating the people and rallying around your communities and your sheriff and educating people on what the Constitution really means. And I do believe that there is awakening going on within our intelligence services and within the military. I have a lot of contacts within them, and I do believe there's a lot of concern growing about this New World Order, and people that are nationalists that want to preserve the greatness of America, and that includes a large number of people in the American Jewish community, are starting to wake up to how these evils have been controlling our destiny, and I think they're at the point of starting to stand up. So I'm hopeful for an awakening here that can put everything back in order.
All right, you need to go to freeamerican.com pass this show on. You can say, when you click onto Merlin's name, that'll take you to the Blog Talk Show. You can save it as an MP3, save it for your default player, and pass it on. Tell people about this show. Tell people about the American Third Position Party. And every time you go to the Free American site, you will be able to see a link to the American Third Position Party. And I would appreciate if the American Third Party Position, I would like to have you on, and your and anybody else that's running in your party, to give people a choice here. Okay, hold on just a second here. Let me...
News behind the news at truthradio.com. At Truth Radio, you can listen live or listen to a large selection of archived programs on demand. Listen when you want to. truthradio.com. The truth is out there. All you have to do is open your mind and listen.
And that's one of the stations that is on mine, and that we're broadcasting on. And again, let me get this stopped here.
Call recording has been completed.
All right, Merlin, I appreciate you being with me, and as one filmmaker to another, I'd love for you to read my Lucifer series and the Solomon series that will be coming out later on this year.
I look forward to it, Clint, and I'll pass on the contact information for our party. I'm not on a board of directors, but I do talk with them weekly since I'm their presidential candidate. But hopefully my influence can help to establish these links to where we can help each other as we move down the highway.
Great, and let them know that I'll bring on any of their candidates. All they got to do is check on my website, freeamerican.com, see what days I got open, call me up, and I'll book you for that day.
Great, thank you, Clay. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
She's the only one, and if I die in Raleigh, I will die free.